And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I'm always grateful for the opportunity to talk about that, because I'm sure that there's someone listening to your show who either does stutter or knows somebody who stutters.
A good friend of mine stutters very, very badly, actually.
Well, wait till he hears you talking about him on the radio.
That's not going to help.
Your ex-friend, right. No, embarrassing him on the radio. No, but, it's a terrible affliction, and people make fun of it, and it's a horrible thing. And I stuttered very badly until I was in my 20s. And my parents had sent me to speech class, and no one seemed able to help me. And I was determined that I was not going to go through the rest of my life as a stutterer. And I worked on myself for about 3 years. It took a long time. I was literally obsessed with stopping stuttering. But I realized one day that if I was in a room by myself, I didn't stutter. And that's true for a lot of stutterers. So they only stutter when they're trying to talk to somebody else. If they went into a room alone, they could say every word that was hard for them to say without stuttering. Like, I couldn't say Gurian for anything. Most stutterers can't say their own names. And what makes sense to me is because your name is your identity. And if you're not happy with who you are, you can't really put that out to the world. So every time I try to say my name, I would stutter. And I remember that when I went to college, I made myself run for the president of the freshman class. I went to a very big college. It was kids from a lot of different high schools were all fed into this one college. And I was kind of popular in high school, even though I never knew it. I never really felt like part of. Who feels comfortable in high school anyway, right? I mean,
right.
If high school is the best time of your life, you should probably kill yourself, you know what I mean? Because there's not a lot going on in high school. No one really feels like they fit in, but there are always cliques. There's the jocks and the nerds and the cool kids, they think they're so cool, right?
Right.
Wait till you see those kids later. When you go to your high school reunion many years later, they don't look that cool anymore. So anyway, I ran for the president of my class, and I couldn't say my name. I had to have other kids that I called my campaign managers. They'd introduce me to other students. And I told myself that if I could win this election, I wouldn't have to stutter anymore because it would show me that people liked me. I think I had a sense that it had to do with my confidence and my self-esteem. And it was a great lesson for me because I won the election and I became president of the freshman class, and I still stuttered. And it taught me that outside validation in your life doesn't work. It doesn't matter how many people tell you that you're cool and fabulous and whatever. It matters what you think of yourself. So I started working on myself to build up my confidence and my self-esteem. And it took me a few years until I consider it grace. I was given the grace to figure out how to stop stuttering. And one of the things that I do is I work with stutterers. And I teach them how not to stutter. I teach them what I did so that they don't have to stutter. And the reason it's important to tell people is because stutterers need hope, because too many people tell them that they can't get better.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you that you can. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication, and not everyone has that obsession. A lot of times people learn about acceptance, and acceptance is cool. Acceptance is good for things that you can't change. If there are some things that we're born with that you cannot change, you must live with it, and acceptance is very important, or else you'll go crazy. But if I hadn't been given the grace to realize that I did not have to accept my stuttering because there was something I could do about it, I would still be stuttering today. And it's on my mind all the time. I listen to my voice constantly when I speak. I could theoretically start stuttering tomorrow, but I won't allow myself to. So if there are any people in your audience who do stutter, I suggest that they look at my website and read what it says about stuttering. If you go to my website, there's a lot of stuff there, but there's one menu part that says About. And if you bring down that menu, you'll see it talks about healing and it talks about headache therapy, because that's another specialty of mine, is curing headaches. But there's a whole thing about stuttering. And what I tell people is if you read that and it makes sense to you, then there's a good chance that my technique can help you. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to send me an email at jeffrey@jeffreygurian.com, and I'll be happy to answer it.
Tremendous.
I do all that myself. Excuse me?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's something that's very important to me, and I'm always grateful to be able to put that out because there are millions of people in the United States. There are about 3 million stutterers, I think. People really suffer with this thing, and a lot of times they don't go to school because of it. They don't get the jobs that they should have, and a lot of them have a lot to say, but they keep it in. It's tremendously frustrating, and it's so embarrassing when you can't speak. I remember very clearly being in high school and the teacher called on me, and I stood up, and not one word came out. Right. And I just stood there, and I just turned red until I sat down again, and I'll never forget how that felt, and it's a horrible thing. So I just like to get information out that if people, if they do stutter or they know somebody who stutters, that there is hope and that you can do that, because now I speak on radio, on TV. I'm always out there speaking, and I don't stutter anymore.